New Pokémon Snap is a game that myself and many others have waited literal decades for. I grew up with the original Pokémon Snap. You younger people gotta understand the N64 in general, but especially games like Snap, were mind-blowing visually back in the day. Seeing the Pokémon in their natural habitat, living together, interacting with each other in a 3D space, it was so awesome. Sadly, in the years since, Game Freak hasn't impressed me nearly as much with the mainline Pokemon games, both in the gameplay department and most certainly the visuals. But Bandai Namco is here to save the day, reviving this long-forgotten franchise to give us the straight-up most beautiful Pokemon experience to date. Just embarrassing what Game Freak has been putting out with infinitely more resources at their disposal. So let's start with those visuals. This game is it's stunning, guys. It's one thing to have a beautiful game on the Switch, but it's another to have it be a Pokemon game. As I mentioned, this franchise has been done incredibly dirty when it comes to visual quality, with the core series always being relegated to Nintendo handhelds and Game Freak seemingly uninterested in really improving things on the Switch. But Bandai Namco, not just with this title, but in general, has been killing it in that department. Pokken Tournament was also pretty visually impressive, but this game, with these environments combined with the phenomenal models and the animations, the interactions between the Pokemon, similar to the original game, because we really haven't gotten anything like this since then. To see them playing together, chasing each other, fighting perhaps, in these lush, crisp HD environments, so immersive, so cool. For the first time in a long time, I actually feel like I'm being transported into the world of Pokemon. I honestly just like watching things play out as, the car moves through the levels, not even taking pictures a lot of the time, just so I don't ruin the view with that camera HUD. And again, I can't stop reiterating, this just demolishes what's being done with these games by Game Freak. As I said, Game Freak's Pokemon games may have moved from 3DS to Switch, but the visual quality certainly hasn't. You go back and forth between these games and it's like not even close. How about those long-anticipated Gen 4 remakes? I know they're being outsourced, but how quickly the Gen 4 remake thing went from being the most hotly anticipated, hyped up thing to then getting revealed and everyone's just like, oh, okay, that's what it looks like. The debate raged on for a few weeks as to how good or not good the quality of the games are, but I don't think you have to look any deeper into it than how now it's like nobody even cares anymore. Again, these games went from one of the most anticipated Nintendo Switch releases, and I'm sure, as always, it's going to sell well. It's Pokemon, it's going to do great, but the hype has just completely dissolved. And of course, in that regard, I've got to smack down the excuses Pokemon fanboys will make here. The main point I've seen defenders raise against comparing Snap to games like Sword and Shield is that Snap is on rails. You're on a set course you can't move off of, where Sword and Shield are in this big open environment that you run around freely in. First off, Sword and Shield open? That's funny. Honestly, some parts of Sword and Shield to me aren't much less on rails than Snap. I mean, when you've got a hallway and literal guardrails that you just follow and go straight down, is that really much different? But sure, the on-rails factor is going to allow them to do a better job with the visuals. I think it needs to be reinforced, though. It's not like you're watching a movie. Again, you can interact with the Pokemon, use the various tools in that we'll get into to get them to perform different actions. So, I mean, this is a game still. It's not like you're just taking pictures and everything's playing out 100% pre-scripted. But just being visually more impressive is not exactly what I'm arguing. I don't just think this Pokemon game looks better than the mainline games. I think it blows the mainline games out of the water. These games don't even look like they belong on the same console. And I've said that about other games when talking about Sword and Shield. Other JRPGs like Dragon Quest XI, Xenoblade Chronicles, both Definitive Edition and 2, those games are open much more than Sword and Shield and look 100 times better as well. And conversely, comparing New Pokemon Snap to other more visually impressive Switch titles, like the ones I mentioned, Breath of the Wild, of course, Odyssey, more recently, Monster Hunter Rise, right? But when you put it up against other visually impressive games, I don't think it blows any of those games away. I would just put new Pokemon Snap up alongside those games. These games all are impressive, but also look like they belong on current-gen hardware, where the mainline Pokemon games just don't, at least to me. And it just makes the core games look that much worse in comparison, because it's like, here's a spin-off game, still AAA obviously, but with not nearly a fraction of the resources, the budget that the mainline games have. This title isn't going to make nearly the amount of money that Sword and Shield do. Again, it is Pokemon, so I'm sure it'll do well, but it's not going to do, 20 million copies or whatever. But this game actually meets what I would say the Nintendo standard should be, and the mainline games are pathetic in comparison. In terms of the game itself, because I do want to talk about the actual game and not just use this whole time to rip on the mainline Pokemon games. Obviously, yes, it is just going around taking pictures of Pokemon. That really is all you do. But there's actually a surprising amount of variety in there. The game has, I think, around 11 levels, plus you can take pictures of Pokemon back at your main lab. But while that might not seem like a lot, there's a ton of augments. Like, most levels have both a day and night version that completely change the layout of Pokemon. Different Pokemon are more active at night. I actually love in some of these levels getting to see all the Pokemon that are up during the day, just laying all over the place sleeping at night. But beyond that, there's also a leveling system for each stage, including a separate level for like day and night versions. As you play through a stage, taking pictures, gaining XP, you level up that stage, and as you level it up, you'll see new Pokemon start to show up, as well as the ones you have been seeing showing up in different areas, as well as perhaps doing different activities, interacting with other Pokemon, etc. Don't worry, once you've unlocked multiple levels, when selecting a stage, you can select like what level you want to play it at, so it's not like the stage is permanently changed as you level up. You can always go back to a previous level. So there's quite a few options just in terms of how a stage plays out. And then on top of that, you have different tools that you unlock throughout the game that allow you to interact with the Pokemon to get different shots. Like there's a music player that can make some Pokemon dance, fruit that you can throw and attract Pokemon to come eat. They might be in like a hidden bush or something, and you throw a piece of fruit down and they'll come out so you can get a better shot. Also with the fruit, you can throw it to hit Pokemon and possibly enrage them. And pro tip, most of the time bonking the Pokemon with fruit stops them in their tracks, like they'll kind of get stunned a little bit, and you can use that to line up a better shot sometimes. Like if you're heading towards a Pokemon and they're still kind of far away and it looks like they're walking away, like by the time you get close to it, it'll have moved into a bad spot for taking a picture. You can just keep pelting it with fruit and it'll kind of stun lock it in place until you can get closer. And there's also the Illumina orbs, which ties into the game's plot. These orbs can be thrown at Pokemon to make them glow, and some will react and perform different actions as a result. There's also these certain spots that you can throw them at that will light up an area and maybe attract Pokemon to that point, or if it's kind of dark and you can't get a good clean picture in that area, that'll give you some added light. But the major aspect about this is Illumina Pokemon, which are Pokemon that react intensely to the Illumina orbs. Tracking those Pokemon and taking pictures of them are effectively the boss fights of the game. In these levels, there's one massive Illumina Pokemon, and you're chasing it down trying to hit it with the orbs to get it to glow so you can take pictures of it. And the story revolves around discovering the origin of these Illumina Pokemon, as well as finding out why they're popping up. From a gameplay perspective, it seems just like an excuse to put these cool visual effects on the Pokemon to make them even prettier looking in pictures, let's be honest. I'm not faulting them or anything. This is a game about taking pictures of Pokemon, so it makes sense that you're going to try to make them look as interesting as possible. After beating a level, you submit your best shots to the professor, and he gives them a rating. And there's a variety there as well. Each photo is going to be rated in terms of quality, like is the Pokemon centered, how big is it, are there other Pokemon in the picture, is it cut off? And then there's different star tiers on top of that for different types of pictures. Like as I described earlier, there's a tier for, the Pokemon just standing around, not really doing anything interesting. Then you might get a higher tier for like having them dancing in the picture or them fighting another Pokemon. And you're trying to fill out your photo decks with high-ranking pictures in each category. So you have this nice loop of you're trying to get all these different types of interesting and fun shots of all the different Pokemon. And as you keep going through the levels trying to get those best shots, you're unlocking new versions of the level that will give you new picture opportunities. There's also requests you can get from characters in the game to get specific types of shots, like someone might ask you to get a picture of a particular Pokemon sleeping, so you'll want to go to the stage it's in at the time of day that you can probably find that Pokemon sleeping and get the picture of it, and that'll reward you cosmetic rewards like titles and stuff. And you can also share your pictures online for other players to see. So while yes, this game is just being on rails and taking pictures of Pokemon, there's a good amount of content within those constraints. And seriously, again, I just find the game so nice to look at, and it's incredibly relaxing to play. I mentioned on Twitter that I've been playing this and Returnal on PS5 together. If you're not familiar, Returnal is this pretty difficult roguelike game, so whenever you die, you lose like a bunch of your progress and have to go back to the beginning. So when I'm at a point where I'm about to throw my controller at the wall after dying so many times in Returnal, I can put this on and sort of zen out and calm myself down. And I think a lot of other people could probably use this as a sort of similar therapy if you play games maybe competitively that get you irritated. And before I close, while yes, I'll take any opportunity I can to bash Game Freak, I want to make it clear that I still have hope with Pokemon Arceus, an actual big open world adventure with Pokemon that will interact with each other like in fights. But when you have mainline games in a franchise getting upstaged so hard by spin-offs like this, it's worth pointing out, and hopefully it lights a fire under Game Freak, make them want to make games that look like Nintendo Switch games and not 3DS games. But yeah, if you think you'd enjoy a relaxing adventure getting carted around through these lush environments, taking pictures of your favorite Pokemon, I can't recommend Pokemon Snap enough. I know it's a bit niche, it's not going to be for everyone, but it is a beautiful game with lots to see despite being on rails. And let's be real, Pokemon has never looked this good. And with that, this video is a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on New Pokemon Snap in the comments. Are you currently playing the game, and are you as pleased with it as I am? As always, I'm the Shy Guy, Johnny Zakari, and thanks for watching.